700 to 2000 ELO is possible with these 4 principles. How it can be done in less than 1 year. Attacking confidently in chess is all about taking more space without overextending. A key aspect in chess is getting to your opponent's half of the board to get in his camp to put the pressure on. But there's a tendency to go a little bit too hard and create weaknesses in your own camp. So what exactly do we need to do for that? So to check if you are taking more space, if you are attacking, if more of your pieces are attacking your opponent's half of the board, that's going to be a benefit. So in this case right here, we can see that white has this full center. He's fully on his opponent's side of the board, and all that black's doing is having a couple knights attack on black's side. So he's got that advantage. He's got that space advantage. He's got the attacking advantage, and that's going to be important. But a ton of games are lost if you push too hard. Let's break it down. Avoid moving the pawns in front of your own king, but there's always really fun exceptions to that. Extend your pawns to the 4th rank, but be careful about extending them to the 5th rank. So the 4th rank is when you move your pawns 2 forward right at the beginning. That's the 4th rank, it's the 4th row. That 5th rank is when those weak squares can be created. And generally, when you're going to the 4th rank, if you keep your pawns right next to each other, whether that's C and D or D and E, that's going to be really strong, versus if you have split pawns like C and E, that's when you have that really weak squares between those pawns. When you're attacking your opponent's side of the board, that's great, especially when it's with pieces, because those can move backwards. When you're going forward with pawns, try to keep that attack to 3 pawns maximum. Of course, there's always exceptions. Beginners in particular have a tendency to overextend their pawns. Just ask Steinitz, the first world champion of chess. He hates moving his own pawns forward. He likes to stay back and counter strike his opponents when they move too far. What are we doing today? We're hitting the top concepts to get you up to 2000 rating in chess. Tip number 1 is to attack confidently. Gain space, attack your opponent without overextending. We'll explore when to trade, how to find the best moves, and have a smart and efficient study plan. These are the building blocks to get you strong. And Reddit queued me in today about a chess prodigy from the Philippines who went from 700 to 2000 in 11 months. We're gonna check out that story, look at his highest rated win against a 22-19, and share some of his tips as well of how to gain that 2000 rating. How do you know which trades are good? Well, each piece has a value, and so if you're getting more value than your opponent, that trade's gonna be good. If you are a new player, check out my beginner video, and I go through this in way more depth. But what happens if the trade's equal? If it's 3 for 3, 5 for 5, what trades are gonna be in your favor? Well, I've got 2 key principles for you. The first one ties to space. If you are attacking, if you have more space, if you're in your opponent's half of the board, it's generally good not to trade, because you've got that attack raging and you are the one going after your opponent's king, and so more pieces on the board are going to be better for you. Now the converse of that is true. If you're being attacked, if your opponent's coming at you, if you're getting cramped down, typically making trades are going to be good. If you make more trades, that's going to make it easier for you to move your pieces. If you're winning in material, if you have more piece value than your opponents, if you have, like, let's just say you have an extra queen, like in this example right here, then making all the trades are going to be great for you, because if you're able to trade down all the way to an end game, if you're able to trade all the pieces, all the pawns, all you're left with is a king and a queen, you know you could get that checkmate. Beginners, check out my beginner video, I show that. And the same concept applies if you're only up a pawn or you're only up 2 pawns. You're going to be the one pushing for the advantage. And just like the space advantage, the converse is true. If you are losing in material, if you're down a pawn, if you're down a piece, complicate the game. Don't make trades. You want to give your opponent as many chances as possible to make a mistake and keep fighting. There's so many different moves available on the board. How do you pick the right one? Consider both your and your opponent's threats. I personally have a tendency to really overvalue my own attack, have a lot of fun with it, and just go for it. And it's really easy to forget about your opponent's threats. So look at what you're attacking, look at what your opponent's attacking. But what are the best threats? Typically, there are checks and captures. So if there's a good check and a good capture available, that is a great move to consider and a great place to start your analysis. Why is it so great? Because it's forcing. Your opponent has to respond to a check or a capture. He can't really just ignore it without giving up something in return. And what happens if there aren't any great checks, any great captures, any great attacks? Think about improving your worst piece. So what is your worst piece going to be? It's the one not involved in the game. It's the one still stuck on the back row and the one not able to contribute to either an attack or a defense. So look for that worst piece, look for the one not being involved, and figure out what the best place to put it is to start going after your opponent. And remember the previous tips. Gain space smartly and know when the good traits are and when you want to avoid those traits. Okay, last tip, then we see the case study. How do you study smartly? How do you make the best use of limited time to get good as quickly as you can? Now, it might be a little counterintuitive, but you want to study the game of chess in reverse. What does that mean? Start by studying endgames. If you know which endgames are winning and which endgames you're not able to win, you'll know which trades to make to get to that endgame. It'll inform your middle game plans. If you've only got 30 seconds to checkmate your opponent and you know exactly what to do because you've studied the endgame, you're going to get more wins. But the middle game's super complicated. How do you break it down? There's pins, there's forks, there's all sorts of tactics out there. Recommended best way to get better quickly is to study puzzles. You can do 5 a day, of course, on chess.com without a membership. And there's all sorts of other websites out there. Studying puzzles is the best way to understand pattern recognition, to see what are those checkmating patterns, what are the patterns to win material, and what are your weaknesses that you need to shore up and make sure that your opponent doesn't have the better threats that you do. And I'm going to recommend for players especially below 1500, if you are serious about studying chess. Now, of course, if you just want to play, all on board with that, get after it. But 30% of your time should be dedicated to studying endgames. 60% of your time should be dedicated to middle games or puzzles. Wait, but that only leaves 10% of your time for the opening. That's right, the opening is the least important aspect to study, especially for beginner and intermediate players. Now, once you get up to 2000 plus and you're getting to master, grandmaster level, that's going to be most of the stuff you have to study because there's so much to memorize. But for beginners and intermediate players, have a few openings that you like to play and you know a little bit, you understand the middle game ideas, the middle game plans, but you don't need to memorize all sorts of different stuff in order to get really good at chess. I'd be remiss not to share Real Man Gilo's additional tips. What did he come up with? He said, don't blunder. Obviously, when you're first starting out, really making sure you're looking at all those threats and making sure you're not going to give up a piece for free is going to be really important. Really, especially until you get north of the 1200 ranking or even higher. I still blunder all the time. And I really like this tip. Don't be overconfident when you're up materially. If you look through my game history, I don't know how often I have a +5 advantage and still find a way to lose or draw the games because I'm too confident, I'm undervaluing my opponent's threats, and I let him get good counterplay. When you are up, especially when you have plenty of time left on the clock, take your time, find the best move. Don't blunder and don't let your opponent back in. And when you're on a losing streak, stop. This one is especially hurtful for me because when I'm losing game after game after game, especially when it's late at night and I need to go to bed, I want to end on a win and then I end up with like a 10-game losing streak. So yeah, that one actually hurts real bad. But I do appreciate the advice and agree with that. What is his study plan? He watches YouTube a lot. He watches GothamChess, Danya, and Hikaru. Of course, they're all amazing. And he plays a ton of chess. He plays between 10 and 15 rapid games every single day. Look at these stats, how many games he played in just 11 months. It's awesome. Congratulations so much, Real Man Gilo. Keep rocking, dude. We have Arrow Gilo from the Philippines. He's playing Quentin Tarantula from Australia, amazing name. We've got a battle of the Southern Pacific going on, mounting in the game of chess. We have two very strong players, and ELO is the underdog. Let's see what happens. He opens with e4, that's amazing. Black opens with the French defense. It's really no small wonder that he's going to lose this game, but anyway, it continues forward, and we can see here that ELO, he is already on his opponent's half of the board. Development's about equal, but he's just got the slight edge, and we can see that he doesn't care about potentially losing his knight because he knows that this is tactically defended. If you could ignore your opponent's threats, that's going to be awesome, and it feels really good as well. So the game continues. You can see right here, it's White's move. What is White's worst piece, and where should he move? Well, we have kind of an ideally placed rook and ideally placed here. We have the knight right in the center of the board attacking all sorts of stuff. The queen's right in the center and the king is safe. What does that mean? All the bishop's actually doing right now, he's attacking right here. So what does ELO do? He improves his worst piece, a great idea. And as the game continues, we get this trade. We have a bishop versus a knight, and we have a queenside majority for White. He's got 3 pawns versus 2 pawns. Both of those aspects are slight advantage in the endgame. ELO, he knows how to play an endgame. And as we go forward here, attacking the queen, moving out of the way, and then right here, Black makes a big mistake. ELO, he's been studying his tactics. He's been studying his puzzles in the middle game. He knows what to do. What is it? This is the last move of the game, and he plays rook captures, and it is tactically defended. Black, with this recapture right here, would be giving up a checkmate on the back rank. Congratulations. That's an awesome win, combining a lot of our best tips to get strong in chess. And I hate to address this because there's a little bit of over skepticism in today's chess world, especially related to recent cheating scandals. A lot of the stuff in the Reddit comments we're talking about, oh, definitely cheated, whatever, yeah, it seems really suspect. Okay, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but this man right here played over 5,000 games in 11 years, played every single day, 10 to 15 rapid games, studied puzzles, and worked his butt off, and got an amazing result. Congrats to him. You put in the work, you get better. That's how life works. I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope it got the gears turning of the best ways to think about the game of chess in order to get better. Have an awesome day. I'll see you back here soon.